Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun. We are breaking down and sharing our reaction to Death and Other Details, Season 1, Episode 9, and Episode 10. It's the finale, guys. We now know everything. Every loose end is tied. Oh, wait, there's an arm that is just falling from the sky. What do we really know?
And is Anna the new Victor Sams? I mean, listen, they have set up a season 2 beautifully, but are we getting a season 2? As of the time of this recording, we don't have that information, but we're hopeful.
Yeah, what's wrong with being hopeful, everybody? Clearly, the writers were hopeful enough to be like, we're gonna give you the Only Murders in the Building experience here, where you get your closure to this mystery, but then we're going to give you another mystery because we have no intention of stopping. And please, Hulu, please just renew the show. Put us all out of our collective misery sooner rather than later.
Obviously, there's spoilers ahead, and I'm about to give a little bit of a spoiler for Only Murders in the Building last season. So, this, if you don't want to know, but Linda Emmond, who was playing Hild / Kira this season, also played Donna over on Only Murders in the Building. Hulu loves to make her a murderer.
What can we say? Is she going to show up on some other crime or crime adjacent show moving forward? Is she going to be the secret serial killer on 9 Perfect Strangers season 2?
Listen, all I know is that it took me a little while to get there, but in the last video I had said that I felt like Hild and Kira were the same person and that Kira was Victor Sams. And I actually got a win on that. Thank you.
Applause.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but in the end, it still feels nice to actually get one right.
Well, I said in that video, after I tried to jump on board your bandwagon, that I loved that theory so much and that I would be thrilled. Great finale.
It was such a good finale. And thank you to all of you out there who left comments about, Kira and Hild maybe being played by the same actress. Yes, it was played by the same actress. We didn't actually get a good enough look at Kira's face until the last few episodes. So it was hard to kind of put that together. But you guys all give yourselves a pat on the back.
Yeah, for sure. And now, be sure to hit that subscribe button before we go any further here. We have so many other fun shows that are coming in the months ahead here, including the return of American Horror Story Delicate or Fallout on Prime Video, which, we're both big Fallout fans. We're just endlessly excited for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up in April and throughout March and stuff like that. So definitely hit that subscribe button and stick with us.
So I think big picture here, the real struggle with the murder mystery show is if you're going to establish something that is this crazy, you actually have to find a way to pay it off so that all the little connective tissue makes sense. And, 99% of it, I feel like this finale really delivered on. They answered so many different questions, including how Kira was able to escape the scene of the car explosion so many years ago, to how she was able to execute all of these different murders that took place, though she wasn't responsible for all of the murders. We'll get to one of them a little bit later on, but they really did answer a lot in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, they did give away some of it in episode 7, where they were having that whole sequence with the linen truck and everything that was going on. And that's fine. It was nice that they were giving enough clues that we could figure things out, that she really didn't end up blowing up in the car. As soon as, Imogen's back was turned, she snuck out, got into that linen truck, and away she went. And she was able to recreate herself, had some surgeries, changed her eye color, changed everything to be able to sort of start on this mission of taking down the Colliers and taking down, the 1% and bringing everybody sort of back to earth. But at the same time, it's by the time we ran into her, that operation she had, it was not cheap. So, I mean, it feels a lot like she was kind of in that ballpark herself. Even if she's, I'm Robin Hood, I'm taking from the rich, I'm giving to the poor. It's still, you're in the same pool, right? My biggest question is, and they didn't explain it, but this is kind of just my tinfoil hat theory. Yeah. When she started all of this, she was an assistant to Lauren. So she's not a rolling in money. I had kind of thought maybe Celia, because she had built a fortune, was kind of bankrolling her, and that isn't what ended up coming out. I'm assuming that she started, the secret that she knew about the Colliers, that she used it against them, and that they were actually paying her as much as Llewellyn was like, oh, they weren't paying Victor Sams. They probably were. And that's how she got the money to be able to start bankrolling everything.
I think you're probably right. I will say, if I'm just sort of throwing a line out there in hopes of like catching something big, this is my season 2 wish list, is that there is a mystery sort of bankroller out there behind the scenes, and it's like Victor Sams is not alone. It is really this larger organization, and there's going to be more pieces to put together. There's going to be more mysteries when it comes to all this to solve. But I don't necessarily know if the show's going to go fully in that direction. They might just be like, you know what? We got our Victor Sams to some degree here. We're going to move a little bit on past Imogene's mother moving forward. I mean, time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, they had the huge reveal. It was like, oh, 6 months later, and they're at the ski chalet, mother and daughter taking on the slopes and having a great time and seeing the world. And what are we going to do next, kind of thing. And then it all sort of comes out where Rufus is there. Rufus was barely in these 2 episodes. Can I put on my beef hat for a second? Like, where was he? Like, for a show that has Mandy Patinkin in this, he was very limited role in these last 2 episodes. But that beef aside, they pretty much brought back everybody up at the chalet. I mean, we saw Jules, Teddy, Lila, like everybody was there to take down Kira, and they did. So it's like, okay, so where do we end up going from here? Because if Anna is sort of the new Victor Sams, or moving into that role, and we'll get more into that and why, how is then she able to sort of continue that on? Because it looks like Kira's resources have all been taken. Like, is there extra money hidden somewhere? We know that the Collier family, they're broke now. The only person that has something is Anna, and she just has a house. Like, everything else has been taken.
I will start here by just saying I love that so many people were back at the chalet for the big reveal, because there's one thing I like.
That's our group, man.
That is our group, and I love so many of them. I think Layla's a great character. I hope she's around in season 2. I still have questions about, okay, you guys are selling this Jules and Imogen love story, and we really haven't seen enough of them for me to like fully buy into that. But anyway, I just love everybody kind of coming together for being like, here's what really happened. It sort of has that Columbo vibe. It also reminds me of the After Party, Rest in Peace, which was great for a couple of seasons on Apple. I like the way that they pieced it together. And in general, I like that these final 2 episodes really showed us how much Imogen is sort of focusing and figuring things out over time. I'm going to make a quick little aside here, and I'm going to venture over to the Death and Other Details Instagram account, which has not gotten anywhere near, I think, the attention or flowers it deserves this season, because they put a lot of effort into that thing. They posted all these videos and photo collages, and in almost every one of those posts, there was like some sort of message that you could unscramble. And clearly all of this was a hint as to what was coming in episode 9. I will admit something. I was so lazy with those. I was just looking at them, and I don't want to be like Ralphie on A Christmas Story and be told to drink my Ovaltine. I'm not going to take the time. But for maybe all of you who did take the time and unscramble all those, maybe you really got something out of it, but the show planned this out. Imogen planned this out. I mean, it made the ending a lot more satisfying, because it really did feel like, okay, we're building towards something, as opposed to, here is a character who's supposedly from the United Nations, who's coming in at the last second to solve everything, and you have never seen her before. If you know what I'm talking about, congratulations. Here is your applause.
Yeah, and I mean, they really paid so much of this off. Like, even from Danny's death, that he ended up dying because he noticed Hild, Kira on the boat, and was like, you're not supposed to be on this boat. Like, you weren't on the manifest at all, and you're not part of the crew. Like, who are you? That's what ended up happening to him. That it wasn't she thought he was Keith Trubisky or whatever. She saw that he found her out.
That was a big...
They paid that off.
It was a huge problem I was having for a lot of this season, because I had so many crazy theories all season about this. I was thinking at one point, okay, this is Eleanor who's responsible, despite the fact she's not old enough. I thought at one point, okay, there's multiple Victor Sam's is that it's being passed along like a title. And time again, the biggest issue I was having with Keith, aka Danny, because if Victor Sam's is as smart as Victor Sam's claims to be, then they would know that Keith Trubisky is not really Keith Trubisky, and they just sort of lured Winnie into doing something with Winnie not knowing what she was actually doing, and setting it up this way and having ultimately Kira be responsible. It all makes sense, but I will admit there was a period of about 2 minutes when we were getting to the chalet and the flash forward where I was sitting back and being just like, if you guys make this so that Image is just like happily globetrotting with her mother, who is a killer, and like this is the end of the show, like, I understand that there's a certain amount of justice here, but this is Judge Dredd. You can't be going on vacation with Judge Dredd, who is just yelling guilty at people and taking them out. It just that's not a happy ending.
Okay, let's talk about something you touched on about the idea that Victor Sam's is sort of this moniker that's going to be handed down, because that's a little bit kind of where we are. That when this whole thing first started, I think it was at the beginning, episode 1, 2, whatever.
Yeah.
I had thought maybe Anna was Victor Sam's, that it had been handed down to her. And now we're kind of here at the end where it is a little bit being handed down to her, because we learned that she's the person who actually killed Catherine. She killed her mother and in the pool, and she was just didn't know what to do. And in comes Kira/Hild to be like, don't worry, I got you. I'll protect you with this. You just go, we'll figure it out. I'll help you through this. This is what you're gonna do. And then we're going to get through it. And she does everything that Kira tells her to do, start screaming. Everybody comes, like all of it worked out exactly right. So who does she owe? Kira. So at the end of this, where Kira/Hild is now like being carted off to prison, I assume.
Yeah.
We see, her right-hand man come and approach Anna and basically be like, listen, I know that the Collier family has had everything taken and, everything that's happened. You still have your house, but, everything else has kind of been taken, whatever. This is the deal, though. Kira needs you to do something for her. And at first she's kind of like, well, I will only talk to Kira, but of course she can't. She doesn't know what's going on. But she ends up agreeing to do whatever it is that Kira wants. So is she then taking on sort of the mantle of Victor Sam's, or is she just doing something for Kira? Let us know in the comments. Do you think she's going to be the new Victor Sam's? She's just doing a favor.
I'll admit I'm already a little torn on this. Because, the favor part of it, yeah, she might feel obligated or that she has to do it. I think this really just comes down to the question of, okay, what is Anna motivated by at this point? Because based on what we saw at the end of this finale, she is just like going through it. She's in a really, really bad place. And if she feels like she doesn't really have that much to protect anymore, then, why is she going to be willing to do whatever, Victor Sam's stooges just tell her to do? She may just be like, okay, screw you guys. Like, what are you going to do? Send me to prison. Make me miserable. I'm already miserable.
Yeah, here's the thing is that I think that Kira doesn't want her business to stop. She still wants to continue on. We saw her even up at the chalet where she was basically like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. And then she's taking a phone call to be like, secrets, money, money, money.
Yeah.
So she's continuing on. Most of her assets have been seized, but not everything. Clearly, there's still some stuff that's out there. And with that in mind, I feel like she would want to find a way to continue on having that power over the rich. So how can she do that? This is how she can do that with Anna.
Yeah, and that makes an element of sense based at least on the idea that even after this entire, scheme played out on the Varuna, we saw all these deaths, everything else, Kira and Imogen are reunited. Like, Kira's still doing it behind the scenes. Like, she doesn't stop. So clearly she does want a certain amount of power. The question is whether or not Anna, who just seems completely unhinged at this point, that if Anna is going to be a worthy vessel to take on a serious operation.
Listen, Anna is really going through it. She's killed her mom. Her dad is Llewellyn.
Yeah.
And she's found that out sort of at the last minute. All the money's gone, She signed the divorce papers with her wife, Layla hasn't put them in yet, but she doesn't know that. She thinks everything is just gone and she kind of just doesn't have anything to lose. But what I really like about the idea of it being Anna is you've got this person who feels like they have nothing to lose anymore, who is Imogen's best friend, all growing up, slipping into that role. Like, it's going to be so juicy next season.
It's going to be juicy. It's going to be messy. Like, I do think that this is absolutely going to be fun. And that brings us to here are bodies, or at least one body, dropping from the sky. And that seems to be a real theme on both episode 9 and episode 10. Like, the moment I saw that helicopter go up in episode, I was just like,
no.
This is the most I'm anticipating an explosion since that episode of Yellow Jackets season 1, where that one member of the team, whose name I do not remember, went up there and it just went. I love this cliffhanger because I did not expect the body parts to be dropping from the sky in this instance. And I'll admit, there was a tiny part of me, that thought for a split second, is this Rufus? Because Rufus was at the chalet, and instead of him at the end of the episode being like, pay attention, details matter, it was Imogen who was saying it instead. And so he wasn't there with, those 4 characters in the closing minute with the body. I don't think it's Rufus. Whoever dropped, I paused it, they had on like some sort of like snow boots or something. It doesn't strike me that Rufus Coatsworth is out there participating in extreme winter sports. I could be wrong.
Well, here's the thing about it, though, is that our complaint this season, our beef this season has been that Rufus hasn't been in the show nearly enough and that they haven't really fleshed out his character that much. One of the things that they did bring up with him was that he was a fraud. And if that's the case, then moving into the next season, if he's not really, what he says he is, the world's greatest detective, or really kind of any detective, then why is he participating in more of these, right? And, I know you guys will argue and be like, well, Imogen's not a detective either. Absolutely, that's true. But for the 4 of them to really be involved in this as non-detectives, the person that is falling from the sky, it has to be somewhat connected to them. Otherwise, how are they actually going to be investigating this at all? Because they're at this chalet. They're not in the middle of the ocean where it's going to take a while for, Hild to show up or any sort of like inspector to show up. They're at a ski chalet. People come in and out there all the time. So if somebody is dead, and I'm sure they absolutely are, they are falling in pieces from the sky, then they're just going to be calling in the cops, right?
Yeah.
So why would the 4 of them be involved in it at all unless it's somebody that they know?
And I think that's the great thing about them doing this particular cliffhanger and these 6 months later, because they basically opened the door that there could have been all sorts of stuff that happened in these months that then these characters can sort of play around with, and we can find out a little bit more of, and it can make them all personally connected to this, whether it be Rufus, whether it be anybody else. Now that we are so far into the video, I have saved my slab of beef here for the end.
I'm already wearing my beef hat.
Okay, all right, that's good. I was having appetizers. I'm now having the beef, because the first thing, this is something we even talked a little bit about in the last video, and it is a little bit of a stretch that, okay, nobody recognized Kira the whole time that she was Hild on the ship, and
no one. There was like 8 people that knew Kira back in the day, and not one person looked her in the face and was like, you kind of look like someone I knew.
Okay, so
crazy. Yeah, my beef hat is on for that.
I'm trying to, like, in my head, justify it to a certain extent by saying, okay, is this some sort of meta commentary where if you're really rich, you don't take anybody who's less rich than you seriously, and so somebody like Lawrence or Catherine would have never looked that seriously at Kira, but
Imogen would have. You're gonna look your own mother in the face and not even be like, man, you look so much like my mom. Like, it's weird that never came up. Yeah. Obviously, they couldn't have it come up because it would give everything away. But at the same time, yeah, now
Yeah.
we're back here being like, how does this work? It doesn't.
They tried to justify it on the show by being like, I have different eye color now. I don't recommend doing that.
Okay.
I had plastic surgery. Yeah, but you didn't have Dr. Hans Kohler from the Blacklist who completely
Yeah, it
changes.
gave you a brand new
Yeah,
face.
you don't have a brand new face here. And the only other beef I really have, and this is just really, really small, is that it would have been great to spend more time this season with some individual characters. I feel like there are some people who I kind of just have a surface understanding of, but at the same time, as crazy as it sounds, this is almost a rare reverse beef where the show can be
Mm.
like, it's a good thing you don't have that because now we have all this stuff to play with in season 2. And if this cliffhanger is tied to something that happened the past few months, you don't know anything about it because we didn't spend that much time with somebody like a Jules, like a
Yep.
Layla. And so
Yep.
there's a lot more material for them to work with.
Absolutely.
This was a really fun show. Like I had a good time with it. I hope it comes back. I'm a little
I
bit
hope so.
concerned just because it felt like a lot of critics kind of dogpiled it in the early going for reasons that do not comprehend to me.
No, especially if those critics watched the whole season. Like, yes, we have the beef that how would Imogen not know that that's her mom, or even have that recognition of like, man, you really look like my mom. Like, absolutely. Yes, I understand that. But the rest of it was put together so well that I'm happy to overlook that. And I don't know why critics didn't overlook that if that's their major beef with the show, because they really landed the plane
Yeah.
on this finale in a way that was so entirely satisfying.
Yeah, this was just a really fun, breezy murder mystery show.
Yep.
I was far surpassed my expectations. I'm coming out of this feeling really, really good, really excited for what the future holds here. Please, Hulu, do not turn me into Victor Sams. Just renew the show for more. But thank you guys for hanging out with us all season. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything else. Click that box right there if you want to watch our most recent Death and Other Details review. And join our Patreon for some exclusive content. And you can do that by checking the link in the description. Thank you to our patrons.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys here next time.